You are listening to Let's Talk Trio on podcasts. Keep up with the latest episodes by downloading the Podbean app or stream episodes via our social media accounts. Search for Let's Talk Trio on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This episode is sponsored by Student Access. Student Access, the leader in Trio software. Student Access is an online database solution that allows Trio programs to track their students' information, connect with students by text messages, streamline the APR, and work from anywhere, all online, with automatic updates for changes from the Department of Education. Their technical support team includes former Trio staff and has over 50 years of combined experience working with Trio. Make it easier to focus on your priority, the students. For more information and to request a free demo, visit their website at www.studentaccess.com or call them toll-free at 1-800-801-1232. That website again is www.studentaccess.com or 1-800-801-1232. Be sure to share your favorite episodes on your social media by tapping that share button. This is a great way to support the podcast. Now here's your host, Juan Rivas.
Thank you, Amelia, for that wonderful introduction. Hello, listener, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Trio. This is Season 6, Episode 7. I am your host, Juan Rivas. In today's episode, we have Sandra Carmona Jobe, who has served the Educational Opportunity Centers and Trio Talent Search programs and is currently doing consulting services. Sandra's on the podcast to talk about her Trio experience and to share a little bit about what it takes to run a consulting business. So coming up in just a bit, Sandra Carmona Jobe. A huge thanks to our sponsors, Angelica Villalpando, Rosario Riley, Dr. Ryan Barone, Dr. Jamie Motley, Dr. Jeff Naputi, Angelica Valdez, Felicia Rivera, Jaded Electronics, TrioJoblist.com, NOSOTROS Education Center, Cambridge Educational Services, and Student Access. Thank you all so much for your continued support of this podcast. You too can be a sponsor of the podcast. Head on over to Patreon and search for Let's Talk Trio. Choose one of 4 patron levels. You can support this podcast for as little as $1 a month. $1 a month goes a long way in supporting this podcast. If you own a business and would like to run an ad on our podcast, send us a message for details. Become a supporter with a one-time donation to the podcast PayPal account. Our handle is @Let'sTalkTrio. Any amount is truly appreciated. If you would like to nominate a participant, staff, or alumni to be on the podcast, send us an email at letstalktrio@gmail.com. That email again is letstalktrio@gmail.com. Again, a great episode featuring Sandra Carmona Jobe, who has worked for previous Trio programs and is currently a consultant. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode. Hi, Trio Nation. My guest on the Let's Talk Trio podcast has previously served the Trio Educational Opportunity Centers and Talent Search programs in various capacities. They graduated from the University of Arkansas Little Rock with a bachelor's degree in mass communication and world languages in Spanish and earned their master's degree in higher education. She currently serves as a consultant to Trio programs offering program management services. My guest enjoys community work, attending events, and planning presentations. Welcome to the podcast, Sandra Carmona Jobe. Sandra, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Juan. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really excited.
I am so glad to have you on here, Sandra. You have a great deal of Trio experience, and it continues to serve you well. So I really am anxious and really excited to hear about your Trio experience.
Yes, I'm excited to share my story with you. I feel like we'll have a lot of things in common, as we're both from Hispanic backgrounds, and coming from an environment with Trio was her lifeline growing up. So
awesome, fantastic. So how are you doing today?
I am doing great. It's always great being able to go to Trio and just being there with coworkers that have the same mindset as myself, and having that mission of being able to help students. It's great going there and then being able to come home and knowing that it's not just a job that you get a paycheck and go home. It's like you're changing lives. You really are.
Absolutely. How would you summarize this year 2023 for you? Because we're recording right there at the middle of December. How would you summarize 2023?
Yes. Oh my goodness. For me this year, I think it was a lot with change and adjustment, prioritizing, and also trusting God and being on His timeline and not mine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely feel that. We're recording this episode, like I said, mid-December, which to me feels very surreal. What is something that you learned about yourself this year?
Oh my goodness. So for that one, it's hard. I know I was looking at the question earlier and I was really trying to figure out what have I learned about myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest thing is, which I guess some people might see it like a weird thing. I don't know. It's I learned that I'm really like a straight to the point person, which not everybody might like. And I learned that that's something I also have to work on, because sometimes when I'm speaking to individuals and they love to add details and just tell the whole story, and I'm just like, okay, get to the point. So that's something I'll be working on for next year to be more patient, I guess, to create those better relationships with others, because a lot of times I'll bust into somebody's office and I'm like, okay, let's do this and that, instead of like, how are you? And just taking the time to like have that interaction too.
Absolutely. It's important to cultivate those relationships.
Yes.
So we currently are heading toward the end of 2023. Do you have any plans visiting family, getting together with folks, hanging out with friends?
Yeah, so right now for the rest of the year, I want to focus on enjoying time with the family. And I definitely want to take the time to sit down before the end of the year, sit down at a coffee shop and just really think about what I want to focus on for next year. There's nothing like sitting at a coffee shop, you're sipping on your coffee just in front of your computer. That really just relaxes me, and it gives me the opportunity to think about what I want to do next year as far as financially, personally, professionally, and that way next year I can definitely start the year with those goals in mind.
Absolutely. What is something that you're proud of that you've accomplished this year?
Yes. So with a nonprofit that I'm with, I am one of the co-founders and the vice president. Now, I'm sure we'll get to talk a little bit more about that nonprofit. But this year, I was able to lead the gala that we had as a fundraiser, and we were able to fundraise a pretty substantial amount. And I was really excited about that, because that money will be used for programming to help Hispanic Latino students with preparing for higher education and giving ACT prep mentorship programs and all that. So I was really, really excited about that.
Can you talk to us about your hobbies and interests? How did you get into event planning and like creating these ideas to do community work? Yeah, how did that happen for you?
Yes. So here's where the story gets long. So I was actually born in Mexico. I'm from Guanajuato, and I moved to the U.S. at the age of 8. So from there, when we made it here to the U.S., we were immediately put into this like after school program, like summer program, and a lot of the activities that we did there were very like community based and oriented.
Oh.
And when I was here at that time, as I got older, I was undocumented. And during my years in high school, being involved with the community was really what opened the doors for college for me. and I received that support. So now it's more like giving back to the community as a thank you for that opportunity, and
Mm-hmm.
also knowing that there's other individuals in that same situation, um, that are also wanting to go to college. So being able to use my experience and my knowledge to help them. So I see it more as a something I have to do for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it too, but I feel like it's something I have to do for the community.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. I think that having hobbies, but also having like this purpose, really
Right.
brings out our talents. So that's wonderful. What are some goals that you have for 2024?
Yeah. So as of right now, my husband and I, we've been talking about how we can look at different ways to gain passive income. So I hope that next year we're able to maybe look into real estate for like a rental property or
Mm,
any type of business where we can have that extra income just for, like they say, that fun money, right? So
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and also to start building that generational wealth for our future kids. So
Absolutely.
it's intimidating for sure, but that's something that I've been wanting to do for a while now. So hopefully next year we really buckle down and take it serious about finding some type of investment property.
I think that's the critical part of a goal is like to buckle down and take it seriously and start working toward it. So that can be
Yes.
intimidating. What do you do to help motivate you to accomplish a goal?
So for that, I think the hardest part a lot of times is to figure out what you want.
Mm-hmm.
But once you know what you want, then I feel like it's a lot easier to obtain it. So that's why I want to sit down at that coffee shop and really write down exactly what I'm looking for and setting those parameters for myself. And then I think once I have that, just having that in my mind, it will be a good reminder to keep pushing forward. Um, because I mean, now that I think about it, it's really nothing stopping me besides like the fear of failing.
Mm,
So, and I can't have that, be the only reason. So, hopefully, once I have a plan written out, it'll be the motivation that I need to actually follow through.
wonderful. Sandra, can you take us back to your childhood? Can you describe your family and what your upbringing was like?
Yes. So, like I said, I was born in Mexico. My dad moved to the US when I was pretty young still. So a lot of times I spent it with my grandparents and my mom, and it was always like, going back and forth between one house and another.
Mhm.
Um, and then when I was about 7 years old, I want to say, my mom moved to the US. So we spent a lot of time with my grandparents, and they were raising us. But then after that, we're able to move here to the US. But as, despite that, we remain a very close family, and then we have always, we always try to support each other every way we can. But that we had, that connection, but also the disconnect from my extended family once we moved
Mm,
to the US.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. How would your family describe you?
Whew. I think I think a lot of times I'm the go-to person. I will say they describe me as being responsible, maybe an old soul, and someone that they can rely on. And a lot of times I wonder, like, why am I just, they always like, oh, I didn't know you were just 20. I didn't know you were only 28. I thought you were like 30 something because you're so mature. And I think a lot of us like, again, since my parents were in the US, I had two younger siblings. So I remember like oftentimes having to wake up in the middle of the night to go to walk to the kitchen, which
Mm-hmm,
a lot of
mm-hmm,
times in the houses in Mexico you have the patio, so it's like you have to go outside to go into another room. So I remember like doing that several times throughout the night just so I could check the time to make sure that we weren't late for school. Or like when my sister, she lost her first tooth, I'm like scrambling trying to figure out where I'm gonna get the money so I could be the tooth fairy. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so like things like that I feel like made me grow up a lot faster.
Hmm.
Um, so now as an adult, it's like I am always preparing and making sure I have everything I need. And then that translates to them like, oh, you're just so responsible and old. Like, oh.
Totally. Uh, Talk to us about your family's view of education. Did your family prioritize education? Did they feel like it was important?
I think for them, the biggest thing is having a skill that could help you make money and be well off. And a lot of times, that comes with education.
Certainly.
Uh, for example, and my parents are a great example of that. My dad, he at an early age learned how to play the accordion. My dad's family is from comes from musicians.
Wow.
So my dad early on was playing the accordion, going to town from town to town, playing the accordion with my grandpa, and he played the guitar. And then my mom, she went and got a license for cosmetology or like hair. So she does hair. So out of all her family, she's the only one that has some type of trade.
Hmm.
So, and she's always like a lifelong learner.
Hmm.
Now that she's here in the US, she actually just started. Um, she's been doing English classes forever, and now I encourage her to do the GD classes. So now
Oh,
she's
wow.
taking GD classes, and she just got all Ace award and the Student of the Month award. So,
That's
you know,
amazing.
yes, I'm so excited for her. So, they have always shown the importance of learning a skill, continuing your education, and growing. So it's always been really important to them, and they always pushed us to really want something for ourselves.
What did you feel about your early education? Like, were you immediately drawn to education and furthering your own skill?
I think so. I think I've always liked school. And I know growing up, I was the little nerd. I always just liked school, and I like doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I
Hmm.
remember um, teachers always took liking to me, so they always became support systems, and I
Hmm.
think that also encouraged me or sensitized me to continue to want to further my education. They always, pull me on to the side and ask me about my future goals, and they will tell me like that they saw something in me and that I should keep going. So that really meant a lot for me, even early on when I was in elementary school. Those teachers were always supporting me.
Wow. Speaking of elementary school, can you talk about your elementary and middle school years? What was that like for you? And yeah, can you talk to us a little bit about your experience?
Yes. Um, so, early on in elementary school, here in the US, I made it to the fourth grade, or started here in the fourth grade. And those first 2 years were mainly trying to learn the language. So a lot of times, when they ask me about I joke about like, oh, don't ask me anything about the solar system or early on the presidents, because at that point I was trying to learn the language. So I
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't learning anything about that. So, um, but I had a lot of support from teachers during that time. They knew that I was learning the language, so they'll take time out of their VC days just to focus on me and to ensure that I had all the tools that I needed
Hmm.
to succeed. And even like I remember my fifth grade teacher, she wanted me so bad to do a graduation speech. And I'm like, well,
Oh, wow.
I'm like, don't even know the language fully. And she wants me to do a graduation speech from fifth grade.
Uh-huh.
And she sat down with me. She helped me write it. She helped me ensure that I could enunciate everything. So, just seeing that is really meaningful, because it was a classroom full of 30 kids. Anybody
Yeah.
else could have done it, but
Hmm.
she trusted me with that.
Absolutely. Um, so were you able to give the speech and did it feel good to you?
Yes, it definitely did because it's always, feeling that someone believes in you,
Hmm.
and that's what pushes you to continue to move forward. And even in middle school, teachers always, I feel like they saw something in me, and they uh, took that risk in me. I don't know if you're familiar with Avid.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
a
familiar with Avid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I was in the sixth grade, I'm at gym, and for some reason I'm doing my homework in gym
Hmm.
class
Hmm.
instead of running around. And a teacher passed by, and she saw me, and she said, "Hey, I want you to be part of this program. Just complete the application." And I filled it out, turned it in. I didn't even know what it was, but
Hmm. Hmm.
it ended up being Avid, and that
Wow,
really changed the trajectory of like me seriously thinking about and preparing for college. So
that's
teachers like
amazing.
that, yeah.
That's amazing. So, speaking of teachers, a wonderful segue to this next question is, who were some of your early mentors or teachers that you really looked up to?
Yes. So this part, when I was reflecting on it, it's always interesting because the teachers that stand out the most to me
Hmm.
are not necessarily those teachers that I had for a year or two or whatever. It was always those teachers that even if I had them for just a semester, they made a huge impact in my life. And a lot of them I don't even remember their names. For example, when I was in the ninth grade, I had a teacher for health education. That's only a semester class. I
Hmm.
don't even remember this teacher, but I remember she pulled me to the side like 2 weeks into my ninth grade year, and she
Hmm.
said, "Hey, what are your plans for life for after you graduate?" And I'm like, "I don't
Whoa,
know."
deep
And she
question.
said, "Yes." And she said, "I think you're going to be great. You'll do great, and I know that you have to go to college." And that really stuck with me.
Hmm.
And I had other teachers where I had her as well for a semester, and which I'm sure we'll talk about it later on. But upon graduation, being undocumented, having to look for money
Hmm.
uh, to pay for college, she decided she was going to give me $500 a semester
Hmm.
just so I could go to college.
Hmm.
And it's this teacher that, I didn't even remember her name at that time, and she was willing to risk her own money
Hmm.
for me.
Hmm.
So it's
Wow.
it's those type of teachers that always came back and, saw something in me.
It's very important to have mentors that are able to identify early on, right, that you're capable of.
Mhm.
Do you remember what you were most proud of during your formative years in elementary or middle school education?
Yes, I think at that time, what I was pretty proud of is that I wasn't necessarily in the other ESL classes.
Hmm.
I was always put in like pre-AP or advanced. And to be honest, like I don't consider myself to be like smart. I just remember always being like a hard worker. And I
Hmm.
think there's a huge difference between being a hard worker and being smart.
Hmm.
So to me, I've never considered myself to be like super smart. I mean, I have common sense. I feel like I have pretty good common sense, but I don't think I'm like smart like that. I think it's just um, it's just having that work ethic, and I
Mm-hmm. That's
think
important.
yes, and then just having that work ethic, I think helped me to get out of those ESO classes and then actually be in those advanced classes. And to me, that was a huge accomplishment because it was like, okay, I moved from Mexico not too long ago, and I'm here, and then other classmates that were born here are still taking those ESO classes,
Hmm.
but I'm in a little bit more advanced classes, and
Right.
that to me meant that the hard work was paying off for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Did you develop any interests outside of academics?
No, which For me, if I could do it over, that's a part that I would definitely want to change. I
Mm-hmm.
think at that time, with my parents just being so involved or always having to work,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and then the educational system just being different from what they were accustomed. I mean, my parents only did an elementary education, so like fifth grade, and
Right.
it's that. So they, for them, it was like, I'm gonna make sure you go to school, you're there every day, you have your supplies that you need, that you go to bed early, and that's it. So they didn't know about sports or clubs or anything like that. And I didn't know any better either, because even though, the teachers encouraged me to do well, they weren't really pushing any extracurriculars on me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't really know about them per se, which I know that sounds weird because they'll be like in front of your face, but I really wasn't aware of like, oh, you can actually join them. There's, this
Mm-hmm.
process to get into them.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, I just focus on what I knew I had to do, as far as academics.
Can you talk about your preparation for high school? How did you and your family prepare for that transition? Was it difficult? Was it challenging? Or were you already looking forward to your high school years?
I was already looking to my high school years. Uh, at that time, like I said, I was only doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing, which is, getting good grades. That was the biggest thing. So to me, it was like I would just continue to do what I'm doing, which is listening to the teachers,
Mm-hmm.
doing what they're telling me,
Mm-hmm.
and then getting good grades. So transitioning into high school, I just knew I had to continue those good habits. One thing I can say is that I was really excited to go into high school, because I was going to Central High School, which is where they had the Little Rock Nine with
Mm.
the integration.
Oh, that's right.
So
Historical.
yes, and the school is beautiful. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, the school is beautiful. So I was really excited. I remember doing a tour when I was maybe even still in elementary school, doing a tour of the school and saying, I'm coming to this school. It's where I
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
want to go. So then actually seeing that, come true, I was super excited to start.
That's awesome. Uh, and I know earlier you said you really didn't develop any interests outside of school, but were there any things that really, like, well, academically, that you really gravitated toward?
I always enjoyed leading my teammates, and like a whether it was a class project or an activity or anything like that. I always feel like the way my brain worked, it was like structure. So
Mm-hmm.
I always like leading them through whatever problem or trouble or whatever the case may was. Even like say in middle school, we had to do a winter wonderland dance,
Oh,
and
wow. Yeah.
I remember I like coordinated like the ticket sales and the
Wow.
inventory for the candy sales, and figuring all the logistics, and I really enjoy that. And I think that definitely transitioned over to high school and what I did later on with the clubs there.
Wow. So can you talk to us a little bit about that? Your first year in high school, what was that like for you?
Yes. So for there, it was definitely an adjustment at first, just having a school that's a lot bigger, and then having to meet new friends and different classes and so on. But once I adjusted, I really enjoyed it at that time. My English was better. I was getting used to the culture, the educational system a lot better. So I had time to actually focus on other things besides just academics. And that's when I decided to get involved in clubs. At that time, I became involved with the a club called CHOW, which stands for Central's Intercultural Acceptance Organization,
Mm.
which was very diverse, because Central is really diverse. So it was a really diverse group that we got to hang out and do community service, fundraising, uh, just social activities.
That's wonderful. I know that the next question asks about clubs and organizations, but I'll reframe the question a little bit. Is what aspect of these clubs and organizations did you enjoy the most?
Yes. So with this child club, what I was the president for it, and what I loved is that we were able to come together despite all the different cultures.
Hmm.
And every for the 2 years that I was the president, or really they every year they were able to do this, but I remember specifically when I was able to lead this, we were able to do a like 80 bites around the world event.
Hmm.
So basically we had everyone from each culture bring food and different aspects from their culture, whether it was music or some type of clothing that they wanted to show or stuff like that. And during that one day, it was a night event. We'll invite the whole school and the community, and they'll come in and try different foods, and then have different performances,
Hmm.
singers, dancers, um, musical instruments, and all that. And it would just be a time where we all got to learn about different cultures and celebrate each other. And I really enjoy being able to put those together and see how we all came together for one thing.
That's wonderful. So it sounds like you picked up a ton of skills and you were just like really putting in shape of the things that you would do later on. What did you learn most about yourself in high school?
Let's see. I think overall in high school, it was determination, because there were a lot of obstacles, especially as I was trying to get into college. Um, it was having that determination and not giving up, and then being able to use my skills that I gained from the community work, from the clubs, because I was also in another club called LULAC. Um, just using those skills to my advantage, so that I could open more doors to opportunity.
Hmm. Conversations about college typically start around sophomore, junior year for a lot of college students. So for some, or for high school students, and sometimes it starts earlier. Was college in your mind, and did you discuss college with your family?
So college, this one is a weird question for me,
Hmm.
because whenever I reflect on it, uh, I never come with a straight answer. And
Mm,
that's
okay.
because like, and I'll explain it. Like
Yeah.
for the 4 years that I was in high school, I was an avid. So, avid, they prepare you for college.
Hmm. It's like a pre-college program.
Yes.
Hmm.
And I was in it all 4 years, and even the 2 years in middle school.
Hmm.
But even though I was in the program, college wasn't really like in my mind, like,
Hmm.
oh, I'm going to go to college and I want to go to this one, and I want to be X, Y, and Z. It was just kind of like, oh, these are the expectations to be in this program, to research colleges. But it wasn't really, I don't know, I wasn't like excited about it per
Hmm.
se.
Hmm.
Or a lot of times I think it's when you don't have others that really been through that process, that look like you or that you're close to, it's harder to imagine or to really feel like it can happen for you, if that makes sense.
Totally.
So,
Yeah.
so yes, we talked about college, but I didn't really see it as something that was actually going to happen for me. So it
Oh, I
was more
see.
like a fantasy per se, or like something magical where, I don't know if I'll actually reach it one day.
Did you
So
talk
it
to
was
college?
interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very, very interesting. So, in your mind, it was like this college idea is kind of a fantasy. It's in the realm of if it could happen, that would be great. But did you talk to college about anyone else, like a counselor, friends, or anything like that?
And I did, with my family, I feel like since it wasn't something that my parents were familiar with, I really didn't talk to them about it. But with teachers, of course, they always, push me. They wanted me to go to college, but it was always like, yeah, they want me to go to college. I guess I do want to go to college, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see it as something so obtainable, so attainable. So it was kind of like, sure, yeah, I'll go. I want to go, but I didn't really see it as a concrete plan of, yes, I'm actually going. And I had at that time we had a trio counselor that will come to the AVID classes. So
Mm-hmm.
everything in my high school career was college.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So even though it seemed more like an expectation, it for some reason in my mind it wasn't clicking of like you're actually going, because I knew at that time that I was undocumented. My parents have not gone to college, or nobody that I knew that was close to me or looked like me had gone to college. So it
Mm.
was something very abstract per se.
Wow. So it was really, really, like you said, abstract, really wasn't there, very difficult. So at what point of high school did you decide, like, I'm gonna give this college thing a try? Like at what point did you decide like it was something that you really wanted to pursue?
And I think that wasn't until my um, senior year
Mm-hmm.
when it was like, well, you're about to graduate. What are you going to do? So the thing is that I had been preparing for college the whole time. It's
Mm-hmm.
just, I was still not certain that it was actually going to happen. But
Mm-hmm.
I've been preparing the whole time because I was taking my ACTs, I was volunteering, my GPA was great, all that. Um, so I think once, there were here's what when I knew I had no option but to go to college. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
when the year was about to finish, and I was like I said, undocumented. I had I used to hear my classmates saying, "Oh, I'm going to this college, I'm going to that college, I just got the scholarship." And in my mind was like, okay, I'm preparing for all this and I have a 4 point whatever GPA,
Mm-hmm.
but I really can't go anywhere. And that's where you know, I was really upset and devastated about it. And then one day one teacher comes and said, "Hey, um, all the teachers at the school and myself had a meeting about you."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "About me?" They were like, "Yes, we know your situation. We know you have a lot of potential, and we're gonna do whatever we can to get you into college."
Oh wow.
So that's when I knew that, it wasn't a fantasy or abstract or anything else. It's like I knew that I was going to get to go to college. And, those teachers grabbed money out of their own pocket. They contacted people that I've never met, and they were sending me checks to pay for my laptop and
Uh-huh.
stuff. They contacted the LULAC organization, and they were able to find me scholarships to go to UALR, and all that to say, as an undocumented student, the first year I had a refund check,
Mm-hmm.
which
Wow.
was amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
Are you seeking guidance to enhance your TRIO project's effectiveness and success? Look no further. NOSOTROS Education Center, NEC, is here to empower your TRIO project with expert consulting services. NEC's mission is to promote the effectiveness and impact of TRIO programs. Since 2003, NEC has specialized in providing professional development and in-service staff trainings, allowable cost services, for TRIO projects across the country. The team at NEC, with over 60 years of combined TRIO experience, offers customized workshops and seminars for project staff, compliance assessments, external evaluations, working on and submitting APRs, database customization and training, development of policies and procedures manuals, and project implementation or reorganization services. Additionally, NEC has secured over $774 million in federal funding with a 92% success rate through their live and on-demand proposal workshops, assistance with data collection and review, detailed technical reviews, and comprehensive proposal development services. Join the hundreds of colleges, agencies, and TRIO projects across the country who benefited from NEC's expertise. Nosotros Education Center, your partner in TRIO's project success. Visit their website at nosotros.edu.org. Again, that's nosotros.edu.org.
Now, back to the podcast. So what did you do on your end to start preparing for college? Like, and we'll get to discussion here about like the college you chose, but what did you start doing to start preparing now that this dream started to become a little bit more real?
Yes. And by the time I was in the 12th grade, they passed the DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. So that gave me a little bit more hope. So the first thing was trying to figure out, okay, now how am I going to apply to this college and how am I going to pay for it? And that was before, I had all the money before all the money fell into place.
Right.
So to me, the biggest thing to prepare for was taking the ACTs, which sucked. I wasn't a fan of them. But it was trying to figure out, okay, what paperwork do I need to submit for college? And since DACA was fairly new, the schools didn't know if I was in-state tuition, out-of-state tuition, international, a local student, or what. So to me, that was the hardest thing, or the way I had to prepare. It was more like mentally. I had to prepare mentally for all the challenges.
Yeah, I bet.
I remember them saying like, oh yes, you qualify for FAFSA, so you have this money, and they're like, oh, never mind, you don't qualify for it. So I remember,
oh wow, that must have been stressful.
I remember being in my room crying and my mom consoling me. Like, I remember like telling her, I just want to go to college, like, how are we going to make this possible? Like, they're just playing with my emotions, basically saying, you do have the money. No, you don't. You can't start school.
Yeah.
No, you can't. So it mainly a mental preparation, and then having to go on the campus in the summer and taking my paperwork from one office to another. I remember just, walking across campus in the heat, and they're like, the admissions counselors don't know what to do with me because of my status. And again, like, you're international, you're not, go to this office, go to that one, take this document. So yes, it took a lot of mental preparation to not give up.
Wow. Can you talk a little bit about the rest of your high school experience? What were some highlights for you? What did you really like about your final year in high school?
Yes, I loved my entire high school experience. Central being a huge school, it gives you a lot of opportunities for enjoying homecomings and football games and anything you can think of, any clubs, they had them. So for me, the highlights, I think it was, one, being able to be the president for the club's chow, because I was able to make a lot of lasting friendships out of there, and I was able to hone a lot of my skills. And then with the LULAC organization on my last year, being able to really bring the Hispanic population at the school, and kind of like set the same mindset of like, if I can do it, you can do it too, and we can all support each other. So that right there, and also just having the support of the teachers, and and definitely a highlight that I'm really proud of is that I was able to give the graduation speech we had thousands of people.
Yeah.
We had thousands of people in attendance, and I wrote we had to compete to give the graduation speech. And mine was like an analogy with like they had to do with baseball and like making it to first base, second base, and all that. So being able to um, give that speech, and thousands of people in attendance, and my parents are there in attendance, and other people that can look up to me and say, "Oh, she looks like me. She has an accent, and she's up there giving a speech." That meant a lot to me.
That is wonderful. I feel like seeing a person that looks like you, sounds like you, up there in a stage of giving a speech, that's inspiring.
It definitely meant a lot for me.
Absolutely. Um, so, spoiler alert, you decided to attend the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. Why did you
Yeah.
choose this college, and what in particular drew you to it?
Yes. At that time, I was limited with my options since finances was an issue,
Mm-hmm.
and finding a way to pay for college, because at that time it was, oh, you're DACA, you're out of state tuition. So you're paying twice as much or triple the price as somebody else that is in state. Um, so when the teachers connected me with LULAC,
Mm-hmm.
then there was a professor that worked at UALR, and he was able to talk to the chancellor and other people, and they were able to give me a scholarship. So, beggars can be choosers.
I mean, if you got a scholarship that's paying, right? Yeah.
Exactly. It was that or nothing. So,
Mm-hmm.
but don't get me wrong, it was local school, a great program. I enjoyed my time at UA Little Rock as well. So even though it was like mainly because they were offering the finances, it was still a great program. And I received all the support and the education and the degree that I needed to be doing what I love now.
Talk to us about how you prepared before you enter college, because for a lot of students, once they graduate, they're like, you know what, I have a checklist of things I have to do before I set foot to campus. What was your preparation like, and what did that look like before you entered college?
Yes. Feel like my memory is blurry from those parts
Oh my
because
gosh,
I
yeah.
was going through all that stress. Like everything literally fell into place that I want to say like June, July before school started. And
Hmm.
I didn't know where I was going until then. So to me, the biggest thing was like, okay, I need a computer to do my work. I need to find a job so I can pay, uh, figuring out the classes that I was going to take, going to campus and knowing where the classes are. Um, I think those were and then looking at the syllabus for like books and materials and all that. Things those were the biggest things for me. I didn't have that traditional experience of like, oh, you got to stay on campus. I didn't stay on campus. I stayed with my parents. I lived like 15 minutes from campus.
Hmm.
Um, so I didn't have that traditional like getting ready for your dorm and
Wow, yeah, yeah.
anything like that. So for me, biggest things was like, do I have a computer? Do I have a job now? Do I know where my classes are? Okay, I'm ready. Let's go.
So talk about that moment. Talk about that moment you set foot in college. What was that moment like for you and for your family?
Yes, I remember the first day of classes. I went to my classes, and because I used to get there like early to really take everything in. So I remember before one of my classes just sitting at a bench outside on campus and just really like breathing and like trying, and then really um telling myself that it was true, that it was actually happening, and
Hmm.
really
Hmm.
thanking God for that opportunity to be able to be in college. And it was a great feeling. I just remember sitting there and really looking and feeling very thankful that I was able to be there.
Wonderful. Did you know what you wanted to study when you entered University of Arkansas at Little Rock?
That's funny. So it's like, oh my God, I want to go to college. It was so hard. Now I'm here.
Hmm.
What you want to do? I don't know. No, I had no idea what I wanted to do when I was in college. I remember meeting with my academic advisor at least 2 times, and she went through every department
Oh, wow.
and every degree with me.
Oh,
And
my gosh.
where she had a sheet of paper and she'd circle like, this is the arts and this is health education.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, I don't know. So I actually didn't declare a major until I was in let's see, my second year of college.
Wow. Okay.
And that's because they said you already took all your basics, you have to choose something or you won't have any other classes to take. So the thing that looked the most interesting per se was public relations,
Oh, okay.
mass communications with the
Hmm.
emphasis on public relations, uh, and Spanish. So I double major with the Spanish and the mass communications.
When I saw that, I was very like blown away that you did double major. So that's impressive.
Yes, and it helped that when I was in high school, I took a lot of. I didn't take a lot of AP classes, but I took a few AP classes, and then I took a test that gave me some additional credits when I was in college. So I was actually able to graduate with a double major in 3.5 years.
Awesome.
That was fun.
What did your involvement in college look like? Did you get involved in a lot of things?
Yes. So we actually that LULAC Council, LULAC stands for the League of United Latin American Citizens,
Hmm.
and that some students from UALR went to Central when they first heard about me and my situation, and they decided to connect me with scholarships. They started a chapter at Central, so I was already being involved with LULAC. So when I went to UALR, I was able to be involved with LULAC there
Wow.
at the university level, and I eventually became the president for LULAC on the college campus, and we were doing a lot of again like the social activities, the fundraising, the
Hmm.
community service, like feeding the homeless, and um, food drives, and um, blankets for the winter and all that. So besides going to work and going to school, I was involved with the LULAC chapter there.
That's amazing. So really, you started to expand on your skills in college.
Yes, yes, yes.
That is amazing. How and when did you learn about the trio programs?
So when I want to say maybe it was the 10th grade, 10 or 11th grade, that's when I was with the trio representatives for talent search were coming to our Avid class to do workshops with us. So that
Mhm.
was my first exposure to them. And throughout my journey to try to get into college, the talent search counselor was really helpful as well with trying to figure out ways in which I could get into college. So she played a huge role as well in like really seeing college as being attainable. So that was my first encounter with them. Eventually, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself,
Oh, no,
but
no, yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh, eventually I'll share this later, but it was a full circle once I was about to finish college
Hmm.
and I ran into that counselor again. And I had like this epiphany where I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I want to do. I just ran into her and I figured out that I want to do exactly what she's doing.
That's amazing. That's wonderful. Can you talk about the moment you graduated from college? What did that mean for you and for your family?
Yes. So it was it was definitely a very exciting moment for us. Um, it kind of took away that I didn't attend the graduation, but then
Oh, I'm sorry. You do. No, no, no
so
graduation.
So it's interesting because with the DACA,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I had the opportunity to be part of this program. It was called Mexico U.S. Foundation, where they selected 100 students from across the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
to be able to go to Mexico with a special permit called advanced parole.
Mm-hmm.
So the the date for that trip was in December when I was about to graduate, because I graduated in December. So to me, it was either, do you go to your graduation or do you go to this once in a lifetime
Oh my
opportunity
gosh.
with this program? And I knew
Yeah.
that with this program, being able to get and not to get all like technical with immigration laws and stuff,
Certainly.
but
Yeah.
being able to go to Mexico with the special permit, the advanced parole, and coming back in, it was going to open the doors for me being able to one day become a citizen. Like
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
process would have been easier.
Yeah.
So, I decided to go for it. Uh, we went to Mexico for, I think it was 2 weeks. So during my graduation, I was actually in
Wow.
Mexico.
That
So
must have been a really hard decision.
it definitely was, but I knew I was, thinking ahead. I knew that it was for the best. And at that time, I had already ran into my talent search counselor and
Mm-hmm.
had that epiphany because, like I said, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I know I major in public relations and Spanish, but I
Mm-hmm.
still didn't know what I wanted to do. And when I ran into her, and I said, "Oh my God, what you're doing is exactly what I want to do." And
Mm-hmm.
she said, "Oh, well, I can find you a job I can talk to my boss and find you a job." And
Mm-hmm.
she said, "But for my career, what I'm doing, you have to have a master's." And I said, "Okay, then I guess I'm getting my master's."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, so that's why whenever, I had my graduations for my bachelor's, I didn't feel too upset because I knew that I was going to get my master's eventually, and then I could celebrate then.
Absolutely. So, did you decide to pursue your master's immediately?
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
How
So,
long did it take you, and what did you major in while you're getting a master's?
yes. So I graduated with my bachelor's in December of 2016. And
Mm-hmm.
then like as soon as the new year started, I started working with Trio.
Wow. Yeah.
So I was able to work full time and go to my master's full time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to graduate in 2 years, and I major in higher education student affairs,
Wow.
which I felt was the most fitting one if I wanted to work with the Trio programs.
So it sounds like you already kind of had an idea of what your career you wanted to look like, right? Uh, as you prepared yourself getting this master's degree, what careers did you have?
Trio.
So trio, all right.
Yes, yes. So literally after I had the conversation with her and realized I wanted to get my master's, um, I, she got me that job at Trio right after I came back from Mexico, starting the year, and I was a student worker. And within a few months, I was a project program specialist, and
Wow.
a few months after that, I was education specialist with EOC.
Hmm.
And I didn't need a master's for that one. I could have a bachelor's. And at that time, I was just working with adults and helping them get into college. Um, and I was getting my master's.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, the whole time it been with Trio, the whole time I was getting my master's, and then after I got my master's, I actually left for 2.5 years. I left Trio for 2.5 years
Hmm.
to go work at a high school. I was the director of college and career advising there.
Oh, wow.
Um, but my heart was calling out for Trio. So I decided to come back this last July. I came back to Trio
Hmm.
as the community outreach manager.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that for the student support services, talent search, equal opportunity centers, or sorry, educational opportunity centers?
EOC with the Education
EOC. Wow,
Opportunity Center. Yeah, yeah.
that's wonderful.
And right now, for the future, I don't know if eventually I'll go into talent search or upper bound, because when I was working at the high school, I really loved those connections I was able to create with the students, which is
Hmm.
something that you don't get as much with the EOCs.
I see.
So
I see.
because you help them complete the FAFSA, the college application, and then you're done with them. You'll be lucky if you get to see them one more time.
Right.
But with the other programs, you have the constant interaction. So eventually I will hope to be able to build those relationships. And I think my heart is where with those young adults or those students in the high school age. I really am able to make connections with them and really be that support system that they may need.
So you currently serve as the outreach manager, community outreach manager for the educational opportunity centers. What does that title mean, and what do you do specifically?
Yes. So at UA Little Rock, we actually have three ELC programs,
Oh,
and
wow.
yes, and we have a total of seven trio programs in that office, but three of them are ELC, and we serve different areas in Arkansas. And what I'm doing right now, after COVID, it was harder to meet with clients and have those face-to-face connections. And also some of the areas that we serve are farther away from our home office. So in my position, we launched this app, which is a mobile app. It's EOC at LR. And on that mobile app,
Mm,
people are able to get information regarding college and career readiness, community resources, and they're able to connect with our education specialists through the app.
that is wonderful. So I'm going to ask you, how did that happen? How did this app get developed? What is it, and how does it work?
Yes. So with with the program, right now running the social media and the app is the focus, and the main mission is providing additional resources and meeting all the needs that the community that we serve has. Because we know that whenever you're helping a client or a participant get into college,
Hmm.
the population that we serve, they're already low income first generation.
Right.
So they have a lot of barriers to getting into college, whether it's transportation, food insecurity, homelessness, some
Right.
type of addiction, and so on. So the job becomes a lot harder. We can't just, say, oh yeah, we just completed your application, your FAFSA, you're on your way to go to college. No, if they're thinking about their next meal, they're not worried about, starting classes or going to school.
Hmm.
So this app grew out of that. We created the app to connect them to those community resources. Um, we have information on there about like homelessness and food pantries and how to get SNAP and WIC and all those services. They're
Hmm.
all on the app, so that we hope that those needs are able to be met, so that then we can come in and say, okay, we have eliminated those barriers. Now we can focus in going to college. So as my job is constantly putting content regarding those type of resources, as well as college and career readiness and financial literacy. So if you download the app and go there, you'll see different content from varying from different topics, so that the point is to inform you and to provide you with what you need to hopefully eliminate those barriers
That's
to be able to go to college.
That is amazing. Um, so this sounds like an amazing app. It sounds like an amazing project that you took on, and it's a definitely an amazing leap for Trio program, specifically for your Trio program. Are you hoping to share kind of like how this came about, and maybe share with other Trio programs how to better, more effectively communicate with their students?
Yes. So with the app, it has those three focuses. One is for them to be able to have access to us whenever they need it, whether it's email, call, a message, whatever. It's just having that immediate access to us and for them to
Hmm.
know exactly the services that we offer. Because a lot of times they'll hear ELC or Trio, but don't know exactly what that is. So
Right.
we're on there constantly providing information about what we do. But you know that if in that app, all we put on there is Trio information, and if there's an individual that's not ready to go to college right now, they're not going to download the app. One, they're not going to download the app. Or two, if they download it, they're going to check it once and they're not going to go back in because they're going to tell me to go to college. Why would I check it? I already know. It's,
Hmm.
nothing pertaining to me.
Right.
So that's why the other component of community resources is on there. And it's every day something new. There's information that they can look at. So the population, the low income first generation, they'll more likely need those community resources. So they'll want to go on there and see, okay, when is the next health fair? Where can I find a food pantry? Where are they doing
Mm-hmm.
a dental clinic and so on? So they can go on there and constantly get information. And while they're there, something might pop up that says, hey, did you know the FAFSA can give you this much money to go to college? And they're like, oh, well, I thought college was expensive and I couldn't afford it. But
Right.
now, because they were looking for one thing, now, they're looking at other things that are talking about college. So also, we try to be very, very proactive about how the content is delivered. So we have a mixture of videos, graphics, text, graphs, charts, just to make it interactive. Eventually, our hope is to provide services through the app. And by that, it's like, for example, we do an article and they can get some type of incentive by answering some questions at the end because now we
Hmm.
know that, they read the article, they grab the information, and that's a service that can be documented. So, we're closing those gaps and that distance
Hmm.
through technology. So it doesn't matter that we're 2 hours away from you, we can still assist you and help you be able to go to college.
That's wonderful. How can Trio staff connect with you if they want to uh, get some consulting services, or maybe even just connect with you about how to more effectively communicate with their students?
Yes, they can always email me. My email is S as in Sam, I Carmona, which is CarmonaGA at gmail.com. So that's SI Carmona GA at gmail.com. You can always email me and I'll be happy to chat with you. I'm passionate about this type of work, about helping this population because I was that population, first one in my family. I was low income. I had all those barriers plus some more. So I know that Trio works, and I know that with the proper resources and support, and then when the individuals show that they care, that we can accomplish great things.
Absolutely. You also serve as a volunteer for many organizations. Can you talk about the service work you do and what do these organizations mean to you?
Yes. So really involved with the organizations called Mamás Unidas, which
Hmm.
is United Moms for Education. And this organization back in 2018, um, it was a group of 7 moms that were getting together talking about or passing information about like scholarships and college, and they knew they wanted their kids to go to college, but they didn't know how, or they didn't know the educational system or anything.
Hmm.
So they'll meet at a McDonald's and they'll say, oh, hey, I found this scholarship, or I did some research and I found this, and they didn't speak English or anything like that. So I heard about this group of moms, and at that time I was the education specialist for EOC. So I connected with them and said, hey, I can give you a workshop on the basics of getting into college and GPA, ACT, all that good stuff. So
Yeah.
I connected. We actually went to a Panera Bread, and we probably had about 15 moms that were there. And I was really excited. I gave them the information. And at the end, I said, hey, this is something that it's been in my heart for a while, providing this type of services to the Hispanic community. We should really do something. And I encouraged them like, hey, we should become a nonprofit.
Mhm.
I'm not a mom myself, but I'm one of the founders of Mamás Unidas, but I'm not a mom. Um, so we decided to give it a try. We did a community event where it was just an informational workshop, and we had about 100 individuals that showed up, and it
Wow,
was amazing.
that is
Yes,
impressive.
and it was a rainy day. We didn't think anybody was going to come. It was the first time having it, and we were mind blown at how the response of the community. So we saw that there was really a need in the community for this type of information in
Mhm.
Spanish. So that's when we decided that it was time. It made sense to become a nonprofit because we wanted to do everything legally.
Mhm.
And we did the research. We connected with the school that had like internships for law students, and they helped us to become a nonprofit. And from there, we've been a nonprofit for 5 years now, and
Wow.
we continue to do community workshops. We actually have one coming up this Thursday.
Mhm.
We expect a big crowd. We'll provide information. We have daycare. We have food for the families. From there, we do one-on-ones based on the families that came. We meet with them one-on-one and create a plan specific to them and their needs. And all this is in Spanish, by the way.
Wow.
And then the third one is student workshops. Those are usually in English for the students.
Mhm.
And we do like ACT prep, um, essay writing, or scholarship, applying for scholarships, things like that, just workshops that can prepare the students for college. And
Mhm.
then the last one is the Mijo program. And with the Mijo program, we chose 10 students to mentor. We meet with them once a month, and we'll meet with them from their 10th grade year all the way to their 12th grade year. And our hope is to prepare them for high achieving colleges.
That's amazing. So kudos to all the wonderful work that you're doing to outreach the community and really advance Latino and Latinas
Yes.
to achieve higher education. If you could give, which is again another wonderful segue to what you just talked about, if you could give advice to pre-college and college students, what would it be?
The biggest advice I will give is to not be scared to ask for help. That's one thing that I see a lot in the Hispanic community with the students. They're shy to ask for help, or they think that because of their status, or whatever the case may be, that people will push them away, or they want a system, or I don't know, they're just too shy to ask. And then a lot of times they miss out on opportunities. So
Hmm. Hmm.
don't be scared to ask for help. That doesn't show that you're weak or anything like that. And the opposite, it gives you more power. Um, it shows you how to advocate for yourself, because if you're not advocating for yourself, nobody else will advocate for you. So start there, ask for help, and it's really going to make a difference, and it will open the doors to a lot of opportunities.
That is wonderful advice. What about advice for folks that are thinking about going back to college or starting their college career later in life?
Yes. I always like to say that it's never too late. It never, it's never too late. You always will have that support system if you really want to, go for it. One way or another, things will fall into place. You'll find individuals that want to see you succeed. They'll become your support system. You'll
Hmm.
find people like us, or the TRIO program, will be cheering for you, will be connecting you to good resources. So, like I said earlier, the hardest thing is figuring out what you want to do and setting your mind to it. After that, everything is going to fall into place and it's going to happen. And yes, it will be hard, but it's not impossible.
Wonderful advice. What advice can you offer to Trio staff that are listening to this podcast? So these are Trio staff members.
Yes. So one thing is to not fall into the routine of assistant students. So always make sure that you have that passion. I've fallen into it where you follow this structure of like, oh, you come with me with this problem, I already know the solution before you tell me exactly what the problem is. Or I'm in my head, I'm already thinking of, oh, he's probably gonna say this and that, and already trying to solve the problem, where in reality, even though that problem might be coming to us, this is a unique problem or issue for the student. So it's important for you to take the time to listen to them and really understand what their struggle is, understand make them feel like they're being heard, because that makes all the difference in the world. And then also, you might not be right. It might be that you had something else in mind that was going on, but it's the complete opposite. But if you don't sit down and really listen to what they need, then you won't be able to be a support system, and you won't be able to be that cheerleader that they need until you sit down and really listen to them.
Absolutely. Sandra, that's some great advice. What are some books, podcasts, TV shows, movies, or other media that you're currently enjoying?
Ooh, so I love doing audiobooks.
Audiobooks.
Just going back and forth to work, it gives them the opportunity to listen to them. A lot of times I don't have time to sit down and actually read the book because I'm going to some event or preparing for a workshop and so on. So just having that time in the car to listen to something. I'm really enjoying magical realism, like Isabel Allende, and I really like those. And then whenever I have time to actually sit down and watch TV, I like to watch I call him my celebrity husband, which is Chef Ramsay. And just looking at Kitchen Nightmares or Hell's Kitchen and all that it's comfort shows that I can just put in the background and just do my thing.
That's awesome. So I do hope the audience looks into it. Do you have any acknowledgements you would like to share on the podcast for mentors, advisors, or colleagues?
Yes, I definitely want to recognize or shout out my boss. And I'm not trying to, get cookie points or anything like that. No, but she's really been a support system. Miss Linda, she's, whenever I was in trio the first time, she always supported me. She understood that I was working on my master's. So, she made things easy for me. And then now when I went to the high school and decided, hey, the high school is not working out for me, I want to go back. And, she said, come on over. And she opened up that position for me. She supported me through it. Right now, this position is new for her. It's new for me. It's new for everybody. So she's worked with me to ensure that I have all the tools that I need, all the resources that I need. She constantly checks on me and ensures that I have whatever I need to do my job to the best of my ability. She's become a friend as well. So I really do appreciate her support. And then she's the soul of trio. She's been in trio for 30 plus years.
Wow. And
you can see her passion still burning bright. I've seen individuals where after so many years, they just go through the motions and they're like, I've been doing this for so long that I'm not willing to try anything new. It's just, it is what it is. But with her, she wanted to open up this position because she's seen that technology is now the way to reach to people, and she's constantly looking for different ways to be able to service individuals and to be able to really help them succeed.
Wonderful. Sandra, what is one word you would use to describe yourself?
Persistent, I would say.
I love that. And Sandra, it has been a pleasure to speak with you tonight. Thank you so much for giving me a little bit of your time to be on the podcast. I hope to have you again on in the future, that if you're open to that, or to maybe have a roundtable discussion with other trio folks.
Yeah, I would love to. Just let me know. It'll be great being able to continue this conversation and, putting our minds together to see how we can continue to support individuals.
Wonderful. So, Sandra, we have a tradition on the Let's Talk Trio podcast where we have our guests sign off. Do you care to do the honors?
Hi, this is Sandra Carmona Jobe, and I'm a graduate of the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. I am the Trio Community Outreach Manager and Consultant, and have worked for the Trio programs and Trio Works.
That was our guest, Sandra Carmona Jobe, who is a consultant and has worked previously with 2 separate Trio programs. Sandra, thank you so much for being on the podcast and for sharing your Trio story. Remember, if you would like to be on the Let's Talk Trio podcast or know a staff, advocate, participant, or alumni, send us an email at letstalktrio@gmail.com. That email again is letstalktrio@gmail.com. A huge thanks to our sponsors, Angelica Villalpando, Dr. Jamie Motley, Dr. Ryan Barone, Dr. Jeff Naputi, Angelica Valdez, Rosario Riley, Felicia Rivera, TrioJoblist.com, Jaded Electronics, Nosotros Education Center, Cambridge Educational Services, and Student Access. Thank you all so much for your continued support of this podcast. You too can sponsor the podcast in one of 3 ways. Become a monthly patron on Patreon. Our base level starts at $1 a month. Become a corporate sponsor by placing an ad on the podcast. Email us for details. Become a supporter with a one-time donation to the podcast PayPal account. Our handle is @Let'sTalkTrio. I'd like to take a moment to thank our honorary members of the Let's Talk Trio podcast, Roger Chambers, Tony Ho, Scott Kendall, and Susan Cramp. The Let's Talk Trio podcast team is John Russell, audio engineer, music producer and composer, and post-production editor. Amelia Castañeda, script supervisor, marketing manager, social media manager, and producer. Juan Rivas, executive producer and host. This episode was recorded Monday, December 11th, 2023. We are in an election year. I strongly urge our listeners to exercise their right to vote. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode.